There we go. All right, quiet in the house. 3, 2, 1.
So I've been involved with amateur soccer for a long time. I've been involved with different leadership staffs from a club called Metro Rangers SC back in the late 2010s. And then I also did some social media for Rebels FC as well, and it's just really been a passion of mine. I started teaching at Troy High School, and I actually had a discussion with a student in probably December 2020 during COVID, and he was an immigrant from France, and we have a lot of immigrants. We have a really diverse community in Troy, and he told me that he missed walking to the local football club with his dad to watch a game on every Sunday, and that's something he really missed about once he moved to Troy. And that just really made me think that it would be amazing if we could provide that for the people here, for a lot of the people that move to Troy from all around the world, if they could have a club that they really loved and care about. And so that kind of sparked the idea, and I floated the idea around to some other people, and that January is where we got a core group of people, and we really started the grind that was building the club into something tangible.
Yeah, so the truth of it kind of comes down to the club started a little bit ago. I played for a team that Joey had been the president of, I believe, or at least on the leadership of, called Metro Rangers. I was a player then in high school for that club, really had a good time, connected well with Joey. We kept up throughout the years, even while I was playing college. And then towards the end of college, he came to me with the idea that he wanted to start another team and wanted to see if I was interested. And just got some friends involved, and that's kind of how it happened. And we slowly built and built and built, and now we're here.
So it really started with those first couple meetings, and it took us about a year to create a website, to form the organization, to become a nonprofit. All of that, create our social media, that took a long time. It took about a year to create. And then once we finally had it, we joined the Michigan Premier Soccer League. We thought it would be a really great opportunity to create a sustainable club financially, and then also build a foundation for the years that were to come. So we joined the Michigan Premier Soccer League. We talked to a lot of different coaches at the high school level to try to bring them in and create a solid foundation. And that foundation is what led us to really create a solid club that could provide for its players and community.
I think that the first season went really well in that we made all the mistakes and didn't have to pay a very high price for them. We were able to get through the season. We didn't have to forfeit any games. We were able to pool our resources and to stay on schedule. But yeah, definitely a big learning curve there.
Yeah, I think it was a season full of up and downs. We had some really positive things, but we also had some issues with trying to get enough guys out at certain training sessions, sometimes with games. So just finding some commitment from the full organization, I think, was something that was challenging at times, and we're working towards building that up more here in season number 2.
So something that went really well was our game day operations. In terms of compared to the rest of the league, we were able to play at a high school. We had an electronic scoreboard. We had music. We had a really great atmosphere for players at that level. We were playing at a fairly low level, and so to have that kind of atmosphere was really awesome. We had one of the best in the league. Something that we want to do better from the backroom staff is really build upon that. So having locker rooms available, having streaming available, really creating a professional atmosphere for an amateur club is really something we strive for, and it's going to be something that we're looking to do in the 2023 season.
Yeah, as a player, I'm somebody that really likes winning. So on that side, I'll say I was a little bit disappointed. But overall, like I said, with the teammates that we had, it was very good relationships between the players on the roster and the coaching staff. And that is a huge part of an enjoyable season. Obviously, winning, in my mind, is always the key thing as a player. But if you at least have a good community in the team and a good environment within the team, that makes the losing a little bit easier, which hopefully this year does not happen. But yeah, so it was an enjoyable first season. It was a pretty welcoming team and organization, including the ownership and Joey and Lewis, who I was talking to more at that point. But yeah, it was just an open team with doorways that can be opened, and I saw a lot of potential there, especially as a new team.
So Connor was an influential player for us. He really connected well. And when he explained that he had a coaching background as well, it was kind of an obvious fit. And I say that specifically because he had been through the ringer with us in our first season. He had had a good relationship with us personally, and so it made sense for us to bring in a coach that understood where we're coming from, what we want to do, and could help solidify some of our shortcomings.
And so we thought it would be a great fit for us because we knew he'd be a great leader, and he would be very easy to communicate with and push forward with having him as part of the team.
Honestly, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep my playing career going just because I'm getting older and my body feels like I'm getting older. So it's just breaking down, and I was thinking, okay, what can I do to stay involved? I really trust and enjoy the ownership group for Troy. I trust and enjoy the organization in general. And so they ended up reaching out. Joey and the ownership group reached out and said, hey, we're interested in having you be the head coach. Do you want to interview? And that's basically where the process went from there. It's just I've been coaching for a while, and I see a lot of potential with the organization to grow. And yeah, one thing led to another, and now I'm sitting here in front of a camera being interviewed for it.
From a coaching perspective, I think we're getting a lot more high-level players, and it's nice not to have to be recruiting ourselves in the back room. So Connor's taking care of a lot of that now, which is nice. And that frees up the backroom staff to do the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, like game day operations, submitting applications to the new league.
We've really had a lot of discussion, a lot of hours into considering the league we're going to play in next year. We want to join a league that has professional standards, professional expectations. And so that has taken up a lot of the time that we put in. And along with that comes money. Money is a huge thing for us. So we spent a lot of time gathering sponsorships, making connections with businesses in our local community.
We're working on sponsorships, trying to bring in as much money into the club so that we can pay for the new league, and we would love to be able to treat our players in a great way and give them gear and give them access to the best facilities and equipment and all of that stuff. So that's kind of been our focus.
So first off, I have two primary goals, and this is something that with recruiting players that I've been preaching is I want to compete right away, hopefully for top of the league. And I want to turn Troy United FC into the developmental team at the semi-professional level. In my mind as a coach, I want to have as many players as possible come into the organization and leave to go to the next level, whether that's USL 2, USL 1, USL Championship, NISA, MLS, anywhere, essentially. As a more personal goal and a more personal objective that I have in terms of coaching with Troy United is I want it to be something that additionally helps people grow as people and it helps the community grow. I'm trying to just make sure that we help people grow as athletes and as well as people.
It's a community-based club, and we, as a backroom staff, we see a lot of value in giving back to the community and just building something from the ground up that I think that players can see that and want to be a part of something that is more than just playing football matches.
Yeah, I think they're buying into a community club that cares about them. We're young as well. A lot of us know what it's like to play on the stage. But primarily, you're getting a stage for yourself, a stage that I hope will be unlike any other club where you get a documentary, we're going to record games, the media's there, so college coaches, other semi-pro, professional teams, whatever your journey may be, I hope that we can help be a good stage for your next step.
I honestly think the players are buying into the very same thing that I bought into when I started this club, which is an amazing community. Some of this community that I've joined with Lewis and the other members of the boards, it's really like you're creating lifelong relationships, and that's what the sport is about, bringing from people from all different types of backgrounds. We had players from all over the world on our team last year, and so when you're buying into the club, when you join the club, you're joining a community of people that you can truly rely on for all stages of life, and that's been a really, really big blessing to me over the past few years.
So it was kind of a hectic time. We had just announced a couple days before Christmas that we were joining the Midwest Premier League, and we decided we wanted to do a tryout second week of January. So we were kind of scrambling to find a tryout facility on short notice. I just remember not being sure if anyone was going to come. We only had about 20 guys the year prior, and so we were concerned if we were even going to make our investment back on renting the facility.
I think at tryouts we were kind of basing a lot of what was to come based on 2022 tryouts. We had about 20-ish people come out to 2022 tryouts, and so we were really unsure what was going to happen the next season. So we knew we needed to do better than that. We were unsure about how many players were going to come out, what was going to be the talent level. So I think there was a lot of uncertainty. We were excited. We knew we were joining a new league, but there were some concerns about what's going to happen, who's going to come out.
Yeah, I mean, first off, it was finding a lot of people at tryouts, then also trying to get the quality of play to be able to play in the Midwest Premier League, because I was going into tryouts going, this isn't a fundraiser. This is trying to find basically our roster for the next season, or at least a large percentage of our roster for the next season, which is something that I just believe in fully, is not having tryouts just be a fundraiser. So my mindset was going in, first off, trying to see who wants to go to tryouts, and then at tryouts trying to do the best I can for assessing 60 to 70 players, which is a tall task when you have 2 hours to look at 60 to 70 players.
Then when we got into tryouts is when we first kind of realized how good Connor was at what he could do. The amount of guys he had out there, the quality, it's just so much better than the year before.
I think the energy was super high, just seeing the huge line going from like the front entrance all the way to our registration tables and having 70 people come out. It felt like high stakes, like people really wanted to play for us. So it was just really exciting to see our whole coaching staff was there, all our head coaches and our assistant coaches. So it was just intense and fun.
Yeah, after tryouts, we were really happy. I mean, it felt very surreal, the idea that we have all these quality players that are already committed to our team, that are trying out for our team, and then quality staff as well.
It was a high moment because we were like, okay, there was some talent there, and we had already started building our roster. So it was just a fun experience to have our whole staff there, our coaching staff, and a ton of people that wanted to be a part of what we were building. So I was stoked.
Seeing the players that we could get to join our org, and not just quality on the field, but quality as people as well. I was ecstatic after tryouts, going, hey, we actually have a team this year that can compete.
Yeah, so the Midwest Premier League has their AGM in Chicago, and so Joey, Lewis, and I were able to head over to Chicago on a snowy, rainy, crappy night in March. And so that was just like a fun drive to just get together. We're not always able to be in person, and it was just a fun car ride over there. We were able to connect with some of the other teams the night before the AGM, and kind of just hang out and just interact with those guys for the first time, which it just, even before the AGM, it just started to feel like, okay, like this is like a real club. We're with these established teams that we've looked up to and have helped mentor us up to this point, and now we're a contemporary with them. So that was really cool to get to be in that environment.
And then once we got to the AGM, you know, you're finally with all these people. I mean, a lot of them, they're from all over the Midwest, all these teams, so you don't see them in person very often. So we got to hang out there and see some of the guys from Livonia and Edgewater Castle and Lansing, and it was just a really cool experience to collaborate with some of those clubs. And you know, we learn a lot. Some of these people have been doing these things a lot longer than we have, and so when you're trying to build a sustainable club, looking out to like Steel City is a great example. Like they're building a great community there. So like learning from those types of clubs is really important to us. And then at the AGM, one of the board members for the league steps down and they're looking to replace them. And Ben from Livonia City is like, hey, Joey will do it. And I was like, Ben, I don't remember talking to you about that. But the whole room, it's like this conference room. There's like 100 people in there, and they all turn and look at me. I've been in the league for about a month, and they're like, join the board of the league. And I did not want to do it.
Yeah. Joey doesn't know, well, Joey didn't know this at the time, but Ben had been talking either the night before or in one of the breaks during the meetings during the day about needing a new board member. He had kind of asked if we had any guys within our organization that would be good for that or were seeking that role. I kind of knew that it would be perfect for Joey. I knew also a little bit that he was not seeking that role, so I kind of just didn't pay much attention to that and told him, like, if you ask Joey, you probably will, but if you vote for Joey, it will definitely do it. So there was a little bit of gamesmanship in that. And then we kind of had to act surprised when Ben recommended Joey for that. And that was kind of a tense moment too, because my impression was, okay, Joey, say yes, and you can always step down later. But Joey had a lot going on and was really stressed and was not hearing my point of view on that, but I was glad it went well. When we went back to the hotel, I felt really bad, but in the end, I think he really liked it, so I'm glad.
But at the end of the day, it was great for us, like to see how the league works from the inside and grow connections with a lot of the big players in the league, and to help advance the league to what we want it to be. So it was stressful in the moment, but I'm glad it happened, and that was a big part of the AGM for me. My beers after were well worth it. So when we were deciding on what friendlies to set up, we were working with the coaches to make decisions about what level of team do we want to compete against in the preseason. And ultimately, we decided to play some pretty big clubs in the Midwest Premier League. We played Livonia City, we played Lansing Common, really just to kind of see where we matched up, what kind of improvements we needed to make, and also learn from how they do their match day processes.
So we went into that first friendly against Livonia. We'd had a few trainings. The squad was still kind of taking shape. I don't think that what the squad that we brought into the Livonia friendly was kind of what we were running with by the middle of the season by any means. But for the most part, a lot of the players that we expected to be there were, but they hadn't really trained much together. We were just trying to see what we had, really, because we'd seen them at tryouts. Connor had worked with them a little bit in training, but in reality, it was just kind of a blank canvas of trying to figure out what exactly we had moving into the Midwest Premier League seasons.
So for me, friendlies and scrimmages and anything like that that's preseason, early season is focused mostly on everything but the result. Meaning that there's things you want to work on, there's players that I want to assess, I want to get a good rotation just for fitness levels, things like that, chemistry building. I mean, there's layers to the impact of friendlies before the season, right? Which is why so many teams do it.
Played Livonia at Schoolcraft, and honestly left that game feeling pretty encouraged. We went down 2-0, I believe, pulled a goal back from Nate Bowes, and really looked like we might equalize. And I remember watching some of the guys that maybe I hadn't been at tryouts and hadn't seen yet. I remember Clayton Lafayette really standing out and being like, that's another guy that we have that is going to be a really strong player for us. And that was the first time I'd seen him play and was really impressed with him. So honestly, again, we lost 2-1, but felt really good about, Livonia is a good team, and we, held up in that match. So was pleased with that.
I thought we played really well. It was really impressive. We had pretty much all of our staff there for the first time for a lot of them. And so we were all very loud. It was a very fun game. We were interested in every touch of the ball. It was a very close game. And I just remember we all felt so alive. We were all very vocal. Didn't get the result we wanted, but what we saw on the pitch was very impressive and gave us a lot of excitement. And then the second game, we played against Lansing, and that was a good game for pretty much everything off the pitch.
We did not put out our best performance. I don't think we had all of the players there that we would have liked to have. That's certainly not an excuse, but we didn't put up a great performance, and it was a little bit concerning, but we saw some positives moving forward into the next games. And really, that was more of a club experience for us to be able to go see what a top club in this league does, what their game day experience looks like, what their professionalism looks like. It was good to reunite with Coach Sorg from Spring Arbor, who a few of us played for. And so we got to hang out with some of the Lansing fans and see a club that actually has, a large fan base that comes out to the games, go out to their brewery afterwards and hang out with them and just get some words of encouragement.
Their fans are awesome. So we got beers with them after the game at their brewery over in Lansing. They treated us right at the halftime. Their staff is giving food to our players after the game. So it's all these things that you want to implement in your own club. Which was my big takeaway from that experience in Lansing was like, yeah, we lost 4-0, but like those experiences are going to make our club great in the long run.
So after the friendlies, I think there's a lot of optimism going into the season between trainings and the friendlies that what you want to see is signs of good things, right? In a perfect world, everything is good going into the first regular season games, but you want to see the signs in the building blocks that are there. And I think myself and the players on the team all saw that those signs were there, which gave me, and from what I could tell, the players' optimism going into the first game of the season.
First match of the season. Well, my brother graduated college, so I was on the other side of the state, and essentially just watching the show unfold via the group chat. So I wasn't at the game, so I know things were going wrong, but I wasn't there and I couldn't help. So it was just I was like, oh my God. I was had this huge anxiety, and I just heard all these terrible things were happening. And then I'm like, but at least I can watch the match. So I turn on the match, pull it up on the stream of my phone at my brother's graduation. Nick, I'm sorry if you're watching this. But I pull up the phone, I'm watching the match, and there's a big pole that's right in the middle of the camera screen. And it's because the cords are too short and we didn't get the right cords in the booth. So beyond all the things that went wrong, I had a big pole in the middle of the soccer match I'm watching. And then I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing fans from other clubs start to give us a bunch of crap. And I was like, holy crap. And then we conceded immediately. So I was feeling not great.
It was definitely a welcome to the Midwest Premier League moment for sure. Just about everything that could have gone wrong off the field did in the lead up to that match. I just remember that when the match was starting, Lewis and I were over there putting up the sponsor banners with zip ties, not even watching the kickoff to our first match in the league, which it was just hectic and stressful, and it wasn't a super pleasant experience.
We had good trainings. We were looking strong in training. If we did finishing, we were looking pretty clinical. When we were doing passing sequences or any sort of possession play, we were looking really solid. So I felt pretty good and confident going into the first game. Just for that to be immediately brought back down to earth in the first 5 minutes of the game. And then having to try to fight back from there.
We settled down. We ended up pulling one back right before halftime, went into the half at 1-1. Felt a little better about that. And then the second half just never really felt like much was going to happen. It felt like a 1-1 draw was kind of where it was going to settle. Neither team was really creating much. And I got to the point where I was okay with a point. I was hoping that we would score, but it felt like, okay, if we can get out here at 1-1, that wouldn't be too bad. And then, of course, they just hit a worldie on us, and we go down 2-1. We push for an equalizer. It ends up being 3-1, and I just remember feeling really deflated after that game. It felt like we had built it up so much, and then just all the air just came out of us at that moment.
I think it was just kind of embarrassed. The result's one thing, right? You can't control that, but all the things you can control, we didn't prepare well enough for that. And I was feeling embarrassed. I really wanted to show that we knew our stuff. And so we just kind of took it on the chin. We're like, okay, we met after. We talked about all the things that we needed to improve for the next match, how we were going to make that happen.
those are the moments I really like what I do, because you get to see the resilience in our staff, and you also get to see a unique blend of perspectives on seeing what went wrong, but then also how we can go about solving it in a timely manner.
At the same time, like, I still felt confident in my players, which that will pretty much never change. Even if you are over, like, I typically am still going to be confident in my players, because the signs are there for the good things and the good times.
I mean, we had lost friendlies. The results don't matter that much, but we'd lost. So we were coming off 2 losses in preseason. We were coming off a loss in our home opener. And there's a lot of questions. And we're not really expressing them, but they're sitting in the back of our minds. So there's some nerves.
This match felt like if we wanted to do anything this year and be a competitive club and fight to be towards the top of the table, that this was a game that you have to get 3 points from. That was, at least amongst the staff, that was our thoughts going into the game, that we need to be taking 3 points from them if we're going to be serious contenders this year.
Yeah. After we conceded, I think I blacked out for the rest of the match, because it was just frustrating. It was one of those matches where you never could really see yourself getting a result, even if things started to go your way a little bit. And that's what happened. We never really got all the way back into the match.
And you could just see the players were getting frustrated, and we had a lot of the ball, and we were playing fine, but you could just tell that we were trying to force it, and we wanted to score so bad that it just became one of those matches where you're so focused on doing one thing and it's not working, and it's just frustrating, and it was getting hard to watch these guys just kind of struggle through this match.
There's 2 games in this past season that I would like back, that being one of them. And for 2 different reasons. That one I want back just because of the result. I think if we had that game later in the season, the result is totally different. It's just one of those games where you're trying and the players are trying, and they're trying so hard to score that they're actually hurting themselves. Because of how much possession we had, we're still building chemistry, so getting used to, okay, if I have the ball, I know this guy likes making this type of run or finding this type of space. And I think that kind of chemistry and lack of chemistry so far was very clear in that game, where we had potential chances that didn't turn into chances because of not having a clear idea of how each other liked playing the game.
I remember I had calls with Joey on the drive home, and we were at a pretty low point, just not sure where to go from here. Are we doing the right thing? Is this worth it? Concerned a little bit, like, are these players gonna give up on us? I mean, this is 4 bad results in a row. We don't know are they committed to the club? Are they going to stop coming to training? Are they going to stop showing up for matches? We really don't know what's going to happen at this point.
I've been building, it was my 3rd year building the club from when I started it. And you're growing the club. But since 2022 to this point in that game, so we had probably played 15 matches, we had won twice. And I was just like, what are we doing? Right? Is this worth it? Does this matter? And at the end of the day, we were like, let's just keep going with the reason we started the club, right? We didn't start the club. I mean, we want trophies, but we started the club originally to serve the Troy community and to serve our players well and to serve the local businesses well. So let's go do that. So we saved ourselves a little bit from falling off the edge of the cliff. We hung on by our fingers and just said, okay, put your head down.
It's one of those games where if you dwell on that type of loss for too long as a team and carry that with you, especially carry it in a negative way, then you start seeing things snowball for the entire season instead of it just being an early season growing pain. To give credit to the players moving forward from that game, everybody still saw the potential, including myself, that there wasn't a lack of hope and a lack of positive environment going into the rest of the season. But seeing goals conceded in the first 2 games early on, seeing individual mistakes lead to the majority of the goals in the first 2 games, those are things that need to be corrected going into the rest of the season. But luckily, like I said, the environment and the high character of the players was still present. And with the second game, for how frustrating it was, there was still really good signs to build from.
The nice thing about the game day operations side was that the first match against Liquid was the first weekend in May, and we didn't have another home game until the first weekend in June. So we basically had a month to fix all of the issues. And I think we did that. I think we got 3 points off the pitch for that game against Detroit Union.
I want to give a huge shout out here to like the rest of our staff. Like, you see a lot of our faces, but you know, we have 4 game day interns who are awesome. We have people working the cameras and doing commentary in the booth, and everything. We really made tangible improvements on our first home match. And that's because everyone really came together, and our staff was really invested in the club. 100% volunteer run, and you know, things haven't been going well. You've lost 5 straight. The first home match was a disaster off the field. So again, you're asking yourself questions, right? Going into this match, are our staff gonna care about this club as much as we do? And every single person did. We fixed the stream, we fixed the ticketing, we fixed the sponsorship banners. Like, we took huge strides in that match.
Everyone was firing on all cylinders, staff-wise. We had a huge meeting after the previous game, and everyone had come up with a plan on how they could do things better. And then to see them executing on their own plans was just amazing.
As a coach, I can do what I can to keep people invested and interested, but the players were self-motivated, believed in the team, the season, the staff, the organization, like everything. So to be honest, the motivation side of things was pretty easy for me going into, believe it or not, going into like this next game. Once again, we conceded early, which is, I mean, it's shooting yourself in the foot, and we've done it every league game so far. And that's just not how you want to start games. When you go down, especially in soccer and soccer at that level, 1 goal is the difference between winning a game and losing a game, or tying a game, or anything like that, right? So we conceded early from another individual mistake, and then conceded from a very like odd play right at the end of the half. That was like a player went down, so guys were concerned for the player going down, and then there was a shot that was a rocket off of the post. And so that goal I wasn't too upset about. The first goal I was, though. So going into halftime, it was just trying to, first off, motivate players, and then get players to realize, hey, this game is still in our hands to be able to fight back into. 3 league games, 3 goals in the first 7 minutes each game. Yes? Yeah. That's bull. I can't be out there. Tony can't be out there. The goalkeepers are in the net, right? Thad's been pissed. He's in the net, or he's on the bench because he's the goalkeeper, yeah? We can't do it. Yes? Yeah. No team in this league is going to be that high above any other team in the league, right? We blew it against United West. We blew it against Liquid. We're now 2-0 in this game. Yeah? Yeah. I'm sick of it. You guys, first off, are too good of players individually to be losing that way, to be scored on that soon. Do you guys get that? In training, we string together passes. We go into the field and we look like our shit in our pants when we receive the ball. You have to know where you're going. It's not receive it and think. It's I already know where I'm going. I play it fast. The pace of play with the ball at our feet has to be faster. I don't care if we're taking players out in the final third. It can't be in the defensive half. That has to be passed around or just cleared the zone. Do we get that? Yeah. It's driving me absurd. And I know that there's individual mistakes, but it's not just one player. Do we get that? Yeah. Because, for example, last game, we had a center back that turned the ball over, right? Part of the reason why he held it was because there wasn't people checking in. Yeah, he made the mistake, but it happens because of other mistakes. Do we get that? we're shooting ourselves in the foot game in, game out. Yeah, we're getting chances. This game is not over. There's still 45 minutes plus to get goals. There's crazier shit that's happened with better teams and worse teams. We didn't get results from teams that, in my opinion, at the time weren't as strong as Detroit Union. And, okay, now we're playing for early season the strongest of the first three teams, and we're down 2-0. That's not how you want to try to go into a third game, right? So it was trying to motivate players in that sense. And then that was a huge wake-up call going into the second half where we were able to get a goal back. Ended up conceding again. Once again, I have the belief to try to, in a league like this with only 12 games, to try to really push to try to get that draw, and not just give up and say, hey, we play for goal differential. But the second half, we were a different team from the first 2.5 games of the season. And I think that helped players that were already still believing, but if they had doubts, to really go, hey, that was a good team we just played. We played very well in the second half. We can do this going forward in the season and still put together a good campaign, good season for us.
All right, I'm here with Jalen post-match after today's game against Detroit Union. Obviously, tough match today. Didn't come with the result that you wanted. But what good did you see come from the team today? I mean, I felt like there were still some good opportunities for the team out there today, despite the result.
Oh, well, we kind of started off flat in the first couple of minutes. We've been doing that a lot of games, which is a little bit irritating. But I see with the second half, we kind of like turned the switch on and just almost made a comeback. And then a fortunate goal in the second half. But you started to see that we just kind of worked back and just started to come back together as a team and started to play together. So that was the benefits of it. And we'll hopefully to transfer those benefits over to the next game.
You mentioned the team kind of like getting better. You know, as we get more and more into the season, how do you expect that like bond to grow through the team that will, you know, end up getting the results that you want?
I think it's kind of like just getting used to everybody. So once again, like even from the Lansing Common game, we still weren't we barely knew each other's names. So now we're starting to just gel a little bit more than usual and starting to understand each other's tendencies and things that we do usually. So that's the benefit now. So hopefully once we get down on more league play, it'll come down.
We lose 3-1, but all of the players after the match seemed like oddly positive and upbeat, and they kept saying we think we turned a corner, we think we turned a corner. And I remember thinking, oh, well, I mean, that's great, but we have the undefeated 1927 from Fort Wayne coming to town next week, so it's not exactly the best corner to turn to. So I mean, I was very pleased that they were feeling that way, but I was also a little concerned leading into the next match.
My goal personally for this season was to remain pretty stoic. We've got some really talented individuals on the staff, but they also feel very deeply, and that was a moment where everyone was really low. So I remember trying to be very stoic and not to be too down in the dumps. And so I tried to do that by going to see the players. I had known that they had bought in, which was really impressive, so I kind of wanted to just feed on their energy. So I remember going down to the bench and sitting down and watching them go through their dynamic warm-ups. And Connor came and sat next to me, and he was very optimistic, which kind of made me a little bit angry because I was like, this guy is being unrealistic. And so I just kind of heard him out, didn't really say much, and then went to the stands. And Steven kind of had mentioned that he was a little bit optimistic, and Joey as well, which now I knew something was wrong because we're coming up against a crazy good team.
But I just remember there being this weird feeling in the air, just people felt different that day. It seemed like something might happen here, and I can't really explain why that was.
I just put all my energy that day into being good hosts for them. They're coming from Fort Wayne. And I mean, I guess maybe that was the one thing that was giving me a little bit of hope. They had a long drive. That's tough at the amateur level to come all the way up to Southeast Michigan from Fort Wayne. So, that's something. But it wasn't a lot to hold on to.
Yeah, so one thing that we had an issue with was conceding early every game. And so I actually had a conversation with the team saying, hey, we're conceding every game. Or conceding early every game, I should say. what can we do to change it? And I told them, I was like, I'm an open book. If you guys have any ideas, I will like run it by me and we can implement them into warm-ups. We can change like pre-game stuff, like whatever works. I talked to the captains and said the same things. So we made those changes. So we changed warm-ups a little bit, changed the environment in the locker room a little bit before the game. And I mean, the difference was immediately evident with us scoring instead of conceding early in the game.
We came out flying. We were awesome in that start of the game. We score early, and I mean it's just euphoria. I mean like we can't believe it. We flipped the script from us conceding early in every match to now we're up 1-0 on the best team in the league. I can't even really describe it.
Getting into the box, good fire it into the net. It is a goal for Troy. That was number 4.
I think that really opened the door for the team mentally to go, okay, we've already put 1 in. Why not 2? Why not more, right?
Troy's setting up something here. Gets it in. Crosses it, shoots it, on net! It's in the back of the net! It's a goal for Troy!
Then when we went, we got a winner in the second half. I wish I could explain it to you guys, but like when you work for years and years to build a team that people care about, to see a whole staff like come together and celebrate something like that, it means a lot to you. It's such an overwhelming feeling of like, this is what we do it for.
Yeah. Yep. It was exactly everything we worked for. Results on the pitch, community going on off the pitch. Our staff was on par with everything we wanted, and our players had showed a resiliency that I couldn't even comprehend.
That for me felt like a weight off my shoulders, because going in, new coach, pretty much a new roster, a lot of new staff members, and going, okay, let's try to get this working where the season's considered a success. Now, where that bar is for success probably depends on who you ask. But for me, it was going, we need to get this first win out of the way. Once we get a first win, the confidence will grow, but we need to get this first win.
Yeah, you mentioned this was the best team in the league. They came into this game unbeaten, hadn't lost a game, hadn't drawn a game. Troy United obviously came into this game, hadn't drawn a game, hadn't won a game. Mm-hmm. So what is this going to do for the whole team getting this win today, especially against the best team in the league right now?
Oh, this is great. This is going to be a great starting point for us, a great jumping point. It shows that we have the capability of beating anyone in the league, and it's gonna push the team harder, put more motivation, more hard work into practice, and that will show in the field. So, yeah.
Yeah, and going from the second half of Union where the team clearly was motivated and felt like, hey, we can do this. We have no issue hanging with the teams, beating these teams. And the same thing with the energy in the locker room after Union, to then going into beating the first place team from the Western Conference. That's the world is ours now kind of mentality of going, hey, if we can do this, there's nothing else that can stop us. After the Fort Wayne game, obviously, we were feeling really good. Our confidence level grew from after it was probably going down for a little bit. I just told the team, like I talked to them about it and said, hey, we have 3 games in essentially a week coming up, like in this next week. If we get 9 points from there, we are right back into the mix of everything. Obviously reliant on other results from other teams, but I would rather give us a fighting chance to be in the mix for top of the table, things like that, than just go like, oh, well, let's just see how it goes. Like, so it was just talking to the team saying, these are 3 winnable games. We just beat the first place team in the league. Had a good showing against one of the better teams in the league so far. We can do it.
I'm a little bit of a hopeless romantic when it comes to Troy United, so we get 1 win and then I'm just deciding when we're going to go pick up the trophy. Once we beat the best team in the league, you're like, all right, it's time to go, right? It's just a pretty big swing from where we were at before. But we go and we take care of AIM. It was 3-2 final, but we were up 3-0 in that game and conceded late a couple times. So it was a great match, good home match.
That's turnover there for Troy. That's going to be number 5. What a save by Swancut there. Keep shooting with this. He's got the ball. He is not offside. Stavros coming in. He shoots. It's in the back of the
Going
net.
in, we played well, played exactly how I was hoping we would, at least until the last few minutes where I almost had a heart attack because of AIM putting in a couple after we're up 3-0. And then going into Cedars, Cedars is a quality team, a lot of quality players on their team, and their defense was playing very, very well that game. And we were able to go in and really push.
I'm on vacation, Steven's on vacation. We're both in Airbnbs and both watching on our phones. And when we scored, we're down 1-0, and when we scored twice in added time to get 3 points and go to 9 points in a row, I lost it. I'm running around the Airbnb. I got up the next morning, and there's a hot tub in this Airbnb. I get a glass of wine, I sit in the hot tub and throw a Troy United scarf around myself. And I was just literally living my very, very best life. So it's just awesome. I mean, when you're winning, you're on the top of the world. Even like in an amateur Southeast Michigan, you feel like you're on the top of the world. So it was awesome. A really good moment for us.
That is probably one of my highlights of my entire athletic career as a player, as a coach is, and if you see pictures from that game, you can see it.
We got to the end of the game and rallied. It was just the best feeling of the whole season for me. I mean, you can even see the photo. I'm like with the players running to celebrate, to be so close to them and to see their energy and their personalities, to see Connor remain confident and still confident in his players and in his coaching to make some very interesting yet successful moves. It was just great to see everyone come together, to see some young guys make a big impact, and then see some of our old veterans fighting through every tackle till the end of the game.
And that's just a great feeling to have as the for the team. And going from AIM 3 points, coming back to get 3 points from Cedars, so we're at 6 out of 9, and then going to Grand Rapids and saying, hey, this is another game that is winnable. If we win this game, we get those 9 points. That was our goal for these 3 games. And then the season is right back to being on track and open.
And we went into BIH, and it almost felt just like a business trip. We went across the state to Grand Rapids again for the second time. And I don't know if any of us ever really questioned that we were going to take 3 points from that match. We just felt confident, and it felt like a business trip that we just went in, we got the job done, and we went home. And that was a cool contrast to how the rest of the season had been going. And so now we got 4 wins on the trot. It kind of felt like we could do anything at this point.
And the team once again played well. It's a long trip to Grand Rapids, so I was happy to see us play so well coming off of that drive. It was a hot day, so the team, I give every player that was there credit, because I mean it's tough playing an endurance sport when it's like 95 degrees. But yeah, I mean, from the beginning of the season until the win at Grand Rapids against BIH, I mean, I couldn't be more grateful for the players that were there. Training players included in that, because without the training players, that means that we're not able to do certain things in training. So genuinely, anybody that was in the org up to that point, and even for the rest of the season, but up to that point specifically, just grateful for any time that they committed to anything.
Before the season, we kind of set the goal of we wanted to finish in the top half of the table in the East. And that did not look like it was going to happen through those first couple of games. But after 12 from 12, it was definitely a possibility. And when you looked at it with Thundercats and Inter as our next 2 opponents, like, we take 6 points from those 2, like, we could be in a title race here. Whether or not that was going to happen, it was, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but there was at least a chance there that didn't exist, 2 weeks before the point we're at this point.
And with the Thundercats game, it was, I mean, pretty much everybody in the locker room knew that our season relied on that game in terms of being able to contend for like top of the table. And I mean, the players were ready for it.
So going into Thundercats, there was some off-field stuff that that went down.
Our social media team, with directive from our board, decided that we wanted to create some beef in this next match. So at the very beginning of the season, we had all our players come and do a media day. And to stir the pot a little bit, we had them all pick a club that has the worst kit and crest.
Who has the worst crest in the league?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'd say Thundercats.
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 Thundercats for sure.
I gotta go Thundercats.
I'm gonna say Thundercats.
I hate to beat a dead horse, but I'm just gonna have to say Thundercats because everybody else said it.
Worst kit in the league?
Also Thundercats.
Also Thundercats. Thundercats as well.
Thundercats. Thundercats as well.
Also Thundercats.
I hate
We
Thundercats.
didn't tell all the players to say Thundercats, but they did. And so the week leading up to the Thundercats match, we created a little bit of a montage of all our players saying that they had a terrible kit. We thought it was funny. The Midwest Premier League is pretty lighthearted in the banter, and it's fun. Teams mess with us, we mess with them. I don't think Thundercats took that well to it. It wasn't that lighthearted. The match felt pretty hostile. It felt like a rivalry match. Felt like people really wanted to win.
The level of tension in the air for that game was more than any other match throughout the season. When we showed up to the facility that day, I could just tell that they were here to play. We were here to play, and it was going to be a tense match, and it was.
We went into the game. We played well the entire game. Scored a nice goal off of good hustle, which those are my favorite goals, our hustle goals. And then we just couldn't hold on.
Going to be Balaga that ends up. Oh, it ends up in the box, and that's in the back of the net.
I know previously I mentioned that there's 2 games that I wish I had back. The United West game because of the result. The Thundercats won because I take the blame for that loss. Like, I made decisions coaching that I regret, that I'll just have to grow from. But the players did what they needed to do. They put in the work. They put in the focus, the effort, the attitude, just all of it. And to come away from that game with a 2-1 loss I was gutted. The team was gutted. It was, after the game, I would say the atmosphere was the most deflated it's been probably the entire season, which is obviously a bummer, but it's understandable. When you have a game that's that important, there's almost like a miniature rivalry growing, like off the field, and then to come away with it with a 2-1 loss and kind of knock us out of the top of the table picture. I mean, it's sports has highs and sports has lows, and that's one of the lows that you can have is once you're eliminated from that kind of picture.
Hearing the other team celebrate in our own locker room, it was not fun. That hurt, especially because it's not just losing 3 points, it's losing what felt like a pretty emotional match. It was losing sights at a title and probably even top 3 at that point. So, it was a wave of emotions, but that's what it's about, right? Rivalries are fun. Bringing a heat of a moment is fun. So glad it happened. I'm looking forward to beating them next year.
Going into a match against the defending champions on short rest, we weren't really sure what to expect, but we certainly did not expect what ended up happening.
The match starts, and I think that maybe it was a momentum thing, and we conceded in the first 5 minutes, and then pretty much every 5 minutes until the game ended and we had lost, well, maybe not every 5 minutes, maybe every 10 minutes, we conceded and we lost 9-0. Which was it's brutal.
I think mentally the team wasn't fully in it. Not to say that there wasn't guys that were, but I think just overall, like I said, it's hard to go from a huge deflation after a game and then a few days later have another game against one of the best teams, if not the best, arguably, in the league. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those games that things don't go your way, like mistakes happen, and it's just a tough result. I mean, like I said, for every high moment in sports, there's always going to be an equal, if not greater, low moment in sports, and that's kind of one of those moments.
At that level, I mean, a couple times throughout the season, you see matches like that around the league, and it really just sucks that it happened to us. And, you know, I don't really hold anyone accountable. I mean, besides ourselves, like, you know how hard the players are working, you know how much the staff cares, you know how much the coaching staff cares. So it's one of those teams where, like, I mean, even some of their staff were saying, like, those were just one of those games where everything is flying in, right, from your opponents. And they were another level on that day. So you really got to give respect to them. It was hard to stomach. When it's your team and you're losing 9-0, it's heavy embarrassment. You're just feeling embarrassed. But because you love your club, you love all the people involved, and you just hate taking that. So, you know, you move forward, right? Those kinds of things are learning experiences for everybody. And you go and you see what's next. It's okay, how can we push for top half? How can we finish respectfully, continue to create those great experiences for our players? Once the title and top 3 has kind of gone out of your mind, the last 3 matches are really about creating good experiences for your players and for your staff and for your coaches, so that you start to think about next year, right? And leaving people with a positive taste in their mouth about the club, so that they want to come back, they want to keep building.
Yeah, I feel like this was another moment of, can we go from this very low valley and continue on and try to make something of the rest of the season. We still had the goal of finishing in the top half. Despite those 2 losses, that was still definitely within reach. And I was just really curious to see, are the players going to respond? Are they going to just fold, or are we going to see some sort of response? And I think we definitely saw a response.
When we go and we get a really good bounce back win against Stars, that was just fun. We had quite a few away fans that made the trip to the middle of nowhere to see that game. We scored 4 goals. It was fun.
And we had a lot of quality goals in the game. The team, after going from Inter to that game, still had a good mentality, and I think that's just a testament to how high character our players are. And I mean, I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to be coaching. Like that, like I said, that makes life so much easier. That, I mean, even for me, is when I used to play, that if I came from a 9-0 loss into another game shortly after, I'd probably be like kind of frustrated. But the players that we have, they weren't. Like, they went into the Stars game ready to just run it back and try to get a win. And we were able to, so that was great to have as a bounce back. And then after that, we had Jags and Tulip City, and both solid games. Both orgs had a really good showing. Jags hosted us, and they were great hosts. Tulip City made the long drive over, and their players and staff were nothing but grateful and friendly, and it was nice chatting with their coach.
We certainly wanted to finish according to our goal. Unfortunately, we didn't get that done. 5-3 loss. That an entertaining match, of course, but didn't get the job done. We end up landing in 7th. All of the results on the final day kind of went against us, and we end up not reaching our goal of that top half finish, which was certainly a bummer.
It's a mixed bag to end the season results-wise, but I think we accomplished what we intended, which was that positive atmosphere for everyone involved in the club as we kind of finished up.
I mean, it was nice to end the season after having the Thundercats and the Inter back-to-back games and the rough start, to then have the high note of the 4-win streak. It was nice to get the win against Stars and then tying Jags, who's a really quality team. And then just close it out with Tulip City, where there was goals aplenty for both teams. And just getting that last game in, and then sending the players off to their college seasons and whatever other seasons that they might have. So it was a nice way to end the season.
Yeah, I think it was a little anticlimactic at the end there, where we didn't reach our goal of finishing in the top half. It seemed at the beginning like, oh, there's no shot we're going to get there. And then it felt like we're going to win the league, so we're definitely going to finish top half. And then it felt like, okay, we should at least kind of middle out right there. And to have all the results kind of go against us right at the end and to slip down to 7th, I felt like a little shortchanged almost, that we felt like maybe we had played better football than to finish 7th.
We can play with the best of them is kind of how it felt in terms of being a club. I mean, we didn't always get the results on the field, but it felt like we definitely belong in this league. We're definitely up to the standards, the expectations, and the extra credit points. We were there for all of them. Just needed to work on consistency on and off the field. So for me, when the season ended, I just felt like, okay, I think we have learned the lessons we needed to learn, and I'm ready to amend them next year. And I felt like we had a new gear given to us throughout the season, and we hadn't got up to speed yet to try and use it. Whether that's our new staff, the mistakes we've learned, and the new players.
And so when we finish that season, regardless of the results and the place in the standings, you have this just overwhelming sense of pride that I created something that mattered. And that is just, that was amazing. And then I took a really, really long nap. So after I took the nap, it was time to think about 2024. And we've got our coach coming back. We had some board members leave the club, and we filled them already. We've got a good core group of players coming back. We've got some new and exciting players coming in. We're going to be moving back to Troy to play in our hometown and represent that community. There's a lot of amazing things that are happening in this club. A lot of awesome small businesses that we'll be partnering with.
Even now, I'm just so optimistic about next season. I keep telling people, like, this is something you're going to want to be a part of. The staff we have, I mean, just so many qualified people, whether it's now we have a CPA on staff, we've got people with their masters. I mean, it's just like some of the smartest people I've ever had the chance of meeting, let alone working with. I can't wait for next season. And then on the player front, players are already recruiting, having the same coach, and Connor that's so diligent and so passionate. He's already recruiting. It's like everyone's firing on all cylinders, and I can't wait to see the result next year.
We want to play for that. People know this is what we're about. We're about the community, and we're also going to be a team that is going to dominate the Midwest Premier League. So that has to be part of what we're going to do this next season. We want to get to that point where we have both avenues going at the same time. We're a great club off the field. We're a great club on the field.